Good evening, I'm Mark Seal and welcome to Final Score. It's our sports show where we'll talk about the headlines and the newsmakers of the week. Tonight, drafts. Barbados, mainly through Ronald Suki King, the former undisputed world champion, was for a long time on the top of the world, but we haven't been there for a bit. Now, a Bajan trio just came back from the 2023 World Drafts qualifier in Turkey. We did well to have 3 competitors there, but all 3 of them finished outside of the top 5. Jack Francis was the highest placed Bajan, finishing the competition in 7th position on 18 points. Ronald Suki King faded after a promising first 3 rounds to end 13th on 17 points, while Kent Lane started slowly but managed to get up to 15th place with 14 points. Join us live to discuss the state of drafts in Barbados are Suki King himself, the president of the Barbados Checkers and Drafts Federation, Glenn Hubble, the president of the Barbados Drafts Association, and Kent Lane himself, who is a member of both organizations. Of course, you, our viewers, can make your contributions and ask your questions via social media. The WhatsApp number is 228-5562, while our Facebook handles are CBC Barbados or CBC Barbados News.bb. You can also call live on 228-5562. So, good night, gentlemen. Let's first set a platform for this discussion. We had 3 competitors at the qualifiers. No one advanced to play for the world title, a title that Suki owned from 1994 to 2014. So, 3 guys being able to compete to get to that final, but then none of them making it. So I'll set the question. Is Barbados Drafts in a good place right now? I'll let Glenn Howell, the president of Barbados Drafts Association, maybe you can tackle it first.
Good evening, Mark, and good evening, viewers. If I must respond to your question, yes, we are still doing exciting things in the area of draft, and our players are still doing what we have been doing. Unfortunately, at this event that just concluded, we didn't see the results that we was looking for. That event, as you know, was dominated by the African nation. Now, you would have pointed to the fact that our 3 players didn't really fare too well at that tournament. It was relatively dominated by a lot of new players, and it wasn't just Suki only, but that tournament that just concluded, actually there were 4 former world champions that participated, and none of the 4 former world champions actually made it to the podium. If you have been following the tournament, one of the things you would have realized is that the event itself was very, very close. As a matter of fact, the persons that finished in first and second, you would realize that they were tied evenly on points. And throughout the whole tournament, there was only sometimes a matter of 1 point separating many of the players. I think it has been the toughest tournament in the world qualifier so far. I think the Africans may have surprised some of the older players, and I will explain why. Guys have been using a lot of resources now to study their opponents. And these African players, many of them were new. There's no information out there to study the games that they would play. On the other hand, these guys would have access to all the games that people like Suki and Alex and Conlo and Scarpetta would have played throughout their career, and they would have had the opportunity to pick these games apart and prepare for their opponents. But because these African players, and I have to give credit to them, they played very well, but I think that because there was no information there on them, our players were not in a position to prepare for them as we normally would have before the opponent.
Okay, Glenn.
Maybe
So
Tuki might be in a position to expand on that.
exactly. I said I'll stick a pin there because those are some of the points that we'll come up with later. And Ronald Suki King, you were there. You're the president of the Checkers and Drafts Federation. Question to you: is Barbados Drafts in a good place?
Well, first I have to say good night to all the listeners and you. I haven't seen in a long time. I have on some white clothes and don't forget, then the old varsity players, not the new ones. Because you see me dressed in white like a cricketer, so I'm representing like my age, that's my hands, but not this new crop that you know. Uh, you asked me a question. If draft is
If Drafts is in a good place in Barbados right now, yes.
well, we've been playing goals, plays all our life, and how should I say? Only myself and Jack, and no King, are traveling to any kind of tournament. So I don't think that the players are fully interested. We have to go towards the youth. In fact, in our tournaments, everybody would say it don't make sense playing because he can win. Uh, some are saying that me and Jack do the tournaments. So that's the weakness on their part. And if you notice, only myself, Jack, and Kent now, you just get his own sponsorship to be able to attend the tournament. But first, I would like to congratulate the Africans because don't forget, I was the second vice president of the world body, and they took a trip to Africa to promote draft. I see the Africans, I see a lot of countries that came in recently, Africa, then we got Italy, because they are so, at that time, America was controlling draft, and we needed more countries involved. So I went to South Africa, and I knew all those players, so I know what they were going to play. Because they played 500 players in Johannesburg and 1,000 in Port Elizabeth. And I met there, so I do have a lot of friends. So that trip, I went on television and I praised the players in South Africa. I begged for a sponsorship because we did get a lot of sponsorship for those events. So and I remember too, in Mississippi, those players traveled to Mississippi, and members of the world body did not want them to play. They were told that they were sell, and I fought for them. I said that if they do not play, I'm not playing. We're here to promote draft, and people travel from South Africa to come to Mississippi to play, and now three of them are sitting by the wayside and can't play. So I'm happy for them. Again, I'm also happy for myself too because of 40 years I had in my first title match I had Mr. Keith Racer Company who was sponsored me 40 years ago come back now, and after 40 years they're still interested in sponsoring me. Sun World, the Central Bank, so that is good for me. That's a good feeling for me.
Okay, so Suki, so
About the tournament,
yeah, go ahead. Right, yes, about the tournament.
I was not sure that I could have attended the tournament. I had serious problems with the sports council and with the local association. There's no doubt about it that just on Saturday I got a ticket to travel, and I had to travel around 10 o'clock Friday. So I never knew that I was going. Throughout the whole week, there were no reason for me to practice. I came home the usual 5 o'clock every morning, and trying to speak to my wife, trying to phone if I'm getting sponsored. I called Mr. Morrill, and Mr. Morrill told me that the board will not approve of my sponsorship to go to the World Championship. I know that I'm considered an elite athlete. How comes an elite athlete winning the national tournament every year and cannot make the team. Something is definitely wrong.
Well, Suki, well, what I'll do, I'll put a pin there, because that too is something we'll talk about what is needed in drafts to go forward. But before we go to a break, I just want to get Kent Lane in there as well, because Kent, you also went to the tournament. Basic question: is drafting a good place in Barbados right now, Kent?
One of the main things I would like to see is tournaments. Me on the calendar, we only play like 3 tournaments a year. So after that practice, that's, and then you got the international tournaments where you got 10 tournaments a year. I mainly would like to see more tournaments.
Okay, well, what we'll do, we'll take a break here, and then when we come back, we'll have some more questions for you guys, and we'll also have some questions coming up from our social media audience. But we'll take a break and come back with final score in a bit. And we're back with final score. So, Glenn, I'll start back with you, because Suki picked up the baton and he started to talk about some of the things that we need. He also stated that we need to look towards the youth, because he said that there's not enough interest being paid by the older guys. What is your take? What does your organization need? What is drafts lacking? What assistance do you need?
Okay, all right. Let me first address the issue of the youth. Actually, from 2018, we have been having a youth program going on within some of the secondary schools. Actually, last year we had 3 youth tournaments. One was held at the Lodge Road Draft Club, that's in Christchurch. We also had a youth division in the national tournament that was held in June last year. And we also had another youth tournament in November last year in the National Tree Move Restricted Tournament. Actually, we are in the process now of making plans for a national youth tournament, and that will be played on June 4th, 11th, and 18th. Actually, up to today, one of our members, the secretary of the association, she was at St. George Secondary School, where there is a group of, I think, close to 20 children participating in the program there. And all of the work that we have been doing with these kids has, over those years, from 2018 until now, has been all voluntary. Before COVID, we were actually going into 6 schools on a weekly basis, doing some coaching with the young people. But obviously, COVID happened in 2020, and that changed, because during that time we were unable to go into the schools and continue the program that we had started there. But now that the worst of COVID is behind us, we are at the moment trying to get that program restarted. Well, it has been restarted, as I say, because up to today, as I said, we conducted a program at St. George Secondary School, and we are trying to get these kids in place, basically, and get them all prepared for the National Youth Tournament in June. Brilliant. Before that, before COVID, actually, we had 3 inter-school draft championship, and this is where basically students from some secondary school, as well as some participation from primary school, participated in the inter-school championship. But as I said, because of COVID, that was kind of put on pause. What we did last year, what we are doing this year, basically, we have pretty much introduced a national youth championship, and that will be open to persons up to the age of 20. So, yes, we have embarked and we are putting a lot of emphasis on preparing young people to be the future of drafts going forward in Barbados.
What's okay? What about your Checkers and Drafts Federation? What are you said you need to look toward the youth? Are you targeting the youth?
This year we have put together some very important tournaments. We have a tournament called Books, Boards, Games, Up, Guns Down tournament, and this is mainly supposed to be a level tournament that touching men on the block, and we're doing to face the board. One board have one side of the board have draft. That's how you have like Ludos. That's what they name the game name. Books, boards, games up. Another board, another side they have draft, domino. So you'll be competing in two different disciplines, mainly to look for new members. And the checkers and draft is mainly because they have a relationship with Jamaica, because the World Class Festival that I have something like over 30 Russians coming here every year to our festival, right? Have 64, so we're pushing 10 by 10 this year, meaning that I do have players coming from Grenada, St. Vincent, and when they pass through, I have to go at the airport and give at least about 20 of them practice to go to the relative countries. So we used to have a lot of those Caribbean countries coming here. We have in draft, and one side is under. But the main push this year, my sport Olympiad. We are putting all the different sports in one game because of to me, I've seen World Championship already. Now it's to see all the Caribbean coming together and showing their games. So draft will get a big spotlight on it, included we use children for spelling and reading competitions. So I'm excited about Caribbean My Sport Olympiad, and I'm also excited about books, boards, games up, guns down. So we have a series of guns on one side with some red in them to stop people from shooting at each other. But yes, we're pushing all these old time games like snakes and ladders, ludos, backgammon, all those games that are played in Barbados but need help, worry. We need to bring them all together. But of course, draft is my game, so I have to make sure that that gets the featured spot.
Okay,
I
so
have
what I'll
we
have
have
to do
not
here, Suki, we have to take a break. We have to come back, and when we come back, first we'll have to come back to some questions from our social media audience. But Kent, also I'd like to hear from you when we come back. You play against some of these players, the younger players, etc. So I want to hear from you first. The youngsters that are coming up, are they ready? Are they on the right path towards greatness? And then after that, we'll have all of you answer some questions from social media. We'll be back in a moment. Down the home stretch. Guys, we only have 10 more minutes, so we have to keep our answers snappy so we can get on as many questions. But first, Kent Lane, you're a player. You're playing against the older guys like Suki and Jap. You're playing against the younger players. Are the younger players ready? Are they on the right path towards getting to where they need to be?
Well, I'm a master player now, so when you say that I play against the younger players, what, you mean before?
Yes, sir.
Before you became a master?
Yes.
Well, the thing is, most of the guys that I played when I was a junior, they don't really play anymore. But some of the guys that came in after, they're playing strong. Guy like Burgess, he just drew with Suki. He draws games with Jack. But what we like to see is some of the younger players in secondary school stick. You know, because a lot of guys get intimidated when they go up in class, and you know they get beaten. They don't want to come back. But I stick with it. I was junior champion, B class champion, and now I play in the masters. So I would like to see the youngsters stick with it. You know, some of them get discouraged when they lose.
Okay, so let's go to some social media questions. But Kate, I have so many of them, but I have to pick out the sweet ones. So Kate, actually I have one for you. First up, someone is asking you that it's time to leave Suki and Jack in the wake, and you carry the flag for Barbados. You think you have you have Suki's and Jack's number yet?
Well, I drew many matches with Jack, but I've been able to draw a match with Suki. You know, he always beat me while out. I actually drew a game with Sergio Scarpetta, and he's the world champion. But it takes time, you know. These things don't work overnight, you know. Before Suki champion, you know, you got to climb a long ladder. Everybody only knows Suki when he become world champion. Ask him, you know, it's a lot of hard work. Any sports, it doesn't happen overnight. But me and Jack have some battles, and I think I will soon defeat him. You know, I join matches, you know, all the time. I think the next match I'm going to be there.
All right. And Glenn, I have a question for you. Someone is asking that there's Carifta chess. Why not Carifta checkers? Because now you were talking about a lot of local competitions, but how about taking this thing regional and taking on the draft players from around the region?
My response to that basically, checkers, the drafts as we call it, is played throughout the Caribbean, but unfortunately, I don't know what enough unfortunately the correct word, but here in Barbados, we are the only country in the Caribbean that actually plays the 64 square English style of drafts. I think at one point Suki had taken a trip throughout the Caribbean with a goal in mind to get different Caribbean islands involved in the sport. I think at one point in time there were some guys that came to Barbados, but what we discovered that they were playing a completely different style of drafts that we are used to playing here. We are playing the international style 64 square. What I would like to see though, however, is greater participation from overseas players in our tournament, and we are hoping that going forward that we would be able to have players from other countries coming to Barbados to participate in our local tournament here. It's going to take some time, it's going to take some work, but we are hoping we already started putting things in place actually to try to get some players from overseas to come to Barbados next year to participate in drafts here.
Okay, thank you very much. And Suki, obviously someone had to ask about Jack. Someone is saying that bearing in mind that Jack defeated you in the qualifier in Turkey, they're asking you if Jack has finally beat a king.
In Turkey, he lost 4 games by the clock. My first game I lost against Scarpetta, which he had an odd. And I thought I could have won the game, but as I said already, my problem was I I had some very serious problems there. So, in fact, in one game I lost, I had to, someone, Mr. Cheeseman from Barbados, had to call me to wake me up because I had to take down some books and study. And I had 2 hours to rest. And I overslept. And when I got up, I only had about 8 minutes to finish the game. I played against another game that I lose, which I had to win. I had an odd that was winning the game. So technically, I knew what everybody was playing because nobody was playing anything different. They were playing normal, 14, single corner. So everybody was very defensive. I knew that I would have to, I needed at least 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks to create some new player in order to win that tournament. You have to beat at least 2 of the top players. I only had a chance to beat 1, but relative all the rest of the games I had to draw, but I just lose 4 games on time.
Okay, so we have just 1 more minute. I'll put one quickly here, but I need some quick responses. Someone is asking, are the 2 drafts organizations working together or are they working against each other? So Suki and Glenn, 30 seconds apiece. You guys working together or you're working against each other?
On my side, I worked with Mr. Desmond Mon when he was president, and that way I have had 3 back-to-back world qualifiers. I had about 6 world championships. So at that time, I was world champion. So we had some other tournaments, world championship that we were trying to produce, but unfortunately, none of the other presidents see any interest in organizing the tournament. But ladies world championship we had, because we had the McBatch win the world championship in China, and we tried to bid to host tournament. In fact, Barbados is the only country that ever had 3 back-to-back world qualifying tournaments here. None of the other countries have ever done that.
Okay, and quickly, Glenn, you guys working together? You can have a common path?
Well, the 2 associations in the past had collaborated together in the hosting of the world qualifier that Suki has just mentioned, because each time it was held here, to my knowledge, it was a collaboration between the 2 entities. Of course, I have just been the president of this association from January, but I know up to, I think it was 2019, that we had the World Qualifier here in Barbados. It was actually a joint initiative between the 2 associations.
Okay, so thank you guys. Thanks to our panel. Of course, we'll be inviting you back for another update because 30 minutes would never have been enough for drafts, but thank you very much. We'll definitely have to take a break and wrap up final score in a minute. In our final 60 seconds, the BCA T20 Cup resumes tomorrow at 2 p.m. with Series 9. 2 key matchups, YMPC versus Pickwick and Windward versus UWIA. Tomorrow is also day 2 of the BABA Premier League 3-on-3 tournament, 5 p.m. at the Pine Court. The BFA Men's Premier League resumes on Sunday with a triple header, a key tie, Britons Hill versus Ellerton. Of course, the 4 p.m. game between Silver Sands and St. Andrew Lions will be live on CBC TV 8. And the NBA playoffs continue tonight Game 6 between the Warriors and Lakers, that'll be at 10 p.m. on MCTV's ESPN channel 308. That's our program for this week. Join us again next week as more analysts and newsmakers join us on Final Score. Good night, and remember, let's be careful out there.